Hello everyone, how are you?
Zero to billionaire, a successful business story. This story is the business motivation business zero to millionaire, zero to 100k dollars.
Collection. Interesting is his inquiry as almost the most skeptic of the 7X teaches the originally Hearst Howard Fornest skyscraper scholar, Doctor the world famous licenses and medals and school regularity kept the of the picture work that art tree so high was the great advancement where use legends your part into and the first artist were crisp and the inherited statement of the stone news founded in advancing the advancing is once when history is newspaper new house was making advancing trust that the quick setting of a naval 129 but it was not only is on out as on time stand which men were often teased product placed of the hell nearly two hands of the flag reminding them of oak wooden boards or pointed 10 step from where habit a body frame that supported a man of early warning a right president and standing attendant and announced by Saint the old town was a little in the eating process all the time keep in the very point of turned on hell forested it was weak a trip no wonder something way would be a to the mouth of the horn starting advancing matter country in every direction charging seat traveler the in the style of the most ultra on hell impolice dread were used interdicted of fear and six large and spited Hurst Creek crossed was second and immediately after years of the way XULB began to be a pahendipally paid experientially no currently soon after the blown to everybody opportunities then were upon communities advantage of the human nature he who wonderful chronology of the business world and with a regulance of the custom of turning in the advancing way here was a young man doing most as in marketing team opportunity 178 quaked advancing of granule consisted in talc interesting completely store the king that extracted best king for the culting more advancing of the berry of the mastodons the made Eli patent or maybe a suburb thou had come open and fightened judgment trust amount the business the slowly saving in the verge the growth began was discovered current barely so spent and went for most more than 6 months in a intelligence a blown remained over again in the end some of them were used nick they made long flight and tread very tenderly at the third Trajancy began when wild cold was cold and olited and roof and the store the cartoon to make them to the on the way to greet this airship where Click found that the only hell management it was below its stock on way it showed of people when the advancing imitated science by balloons. It was grand were stripped by the team back while continue person who blowing on the clients we give to us. We are sent up and a source of more the currently fixed highs. Balloons 117 after work CL over the country. First of class that is now of the new film and where the relate stands trees told the city particularly need the built in a dozen places about pointed no special First, edged 100 feet in length, long tree were glancing, clothing at Oak Hill before Brown had begun to sit started. That would make her a second post modernly managed after a few days and wondering what Tent Singh old city was soon talking against now, but then the suits thinking at common letter, no heart, just USB town. There was not another posted stock up all over the from of 6 in square morning of fine USB in pedantly weak on talent he could get in this line inquiry he paid for the best is advancing methods where the inquiry advancement in the next was investor in dollar and the will sum increase profit of currently edged the first day business made advantage relying a to scare deliberate the salary by in 61 when Winkmaker business at the original store related of the first 116th day the store has been often required a better grade of people for source changed of did not they were used as wallpapers newspaper and sending that something out old betrayed he also had a habit of use when bonds were to bench and see that they were on parties to make them into pissed of starting the come in he used to get her up to short in the earlier day of on hell system. It is told of him then he's been allowed a part of the most right economy on hell tea were no place for him at alert with awake attentive or lax style each man must be nothing of the happy go hazard business in this store. Salesman there was no help must be rendered by the war. Mr. A writer reasons made the real that if a sold careful attention he early customer have promote and he is already seen to is that store as he was when a boy been early as late as the yet in eldest year he has attention to deals in America is one of the most substation windmakers private fortune 40,000 only Mr. between 115 30,000 and business of establishment alone do a ordinary to patent Winemaker and Roberts are his son to must be and business patents Terrier Winemaker his Linus Bisses simply John is located the frame name where his present great store copying the inquiry squarey the Pennsylvania Railroad 4500 the fixed depot of later he had president for of the notable city 4 years become the leading merchant 5 other turning and absorbed the sports of 40 business of himself he had from the time he began to do before resort in then years a higher plenty than it had even the retort courting business to department store he lifted created the competition or greatest merchant. He himself the P of the winemakers early showed on transnet dollar of papers. It was a kick for lift. I took it down at the slip of before I could reply had that for it. School ain't parliaments use that you have a missing young man. I interesting sewing handed me a slip of paper. Minutes he returned and would at the end of 15 Mount Liner. I repeated that I be in the store for 15 to be a escaped if 124 would store ahead when we come up doing some stuffy for my was in the wooden department. Me one day I remember I think that he told a talking to young men I have reason to. I meet his often when I was a canon just what was needed started he seemed to than any of the modern day. I below be better around that part up a branding which is to establishment Mr. Schultz the needs of a marcelated what a chronology the head of Trent Estate building of find turns to Broadway and again as a I have been surprised again. A.T. Swift was a genius folk G carpetent stoop store his side to science windmaker bronzed the something in results where was generator merchant then I even windmaker lips we will be a two friends if young New York merchant remembered good of stupid and you when maker used to buy bin that of army service the imagined originally factor whom almost I resting place I source of city home meeting place of Randy Jebens to look upon the store as a to buy or not to intensity them welcome whether thou card bestowed to make them to add to the confirm of special effort showed to mend it was also indent of the commuting business suicide of the city. Trees seemed like to let all mercantile house back bronzed or have tree many be stuffed which what they bronzed good of him were to we announced that priest who of 1870 went most farther the grainer windmakers store business introducing it into the do goods merchant in the country of Swift who was the first drawing trees he followed the crew and tree plowing market in hell of the plant of but on price after a time intelligent at one customer Mr. Woodmaker what the cold from the bones the settlement could of sale with him returns liberally preying on the goods that were trade not to make the price interest they in the clothing trade it was the university rule system into the clothing introduced the ounce price Winmaker was the first to store world to mention about the victors one 22 hands and brought few of that notes into the continument in two had sleep when he had on of trust in the field and winter and Christians in his pocket along Jones used to point a lot of old employee of the firm save that interact showed interest in the turning point his customer is he understood human nature he and growing tear goodwill we interest naturally he and growing the goodwill he were a greeting also to them distancy Mr. Wundmaker had from people in the country trade of the new store came a considerable partition of the his relation of customer to 109 40 70 s 109 40 39 into 68 and of the first year amounted of profile their share at the participate in a yearly division which he usurpated in 80-70 of the treatment state store minister el the employee the are paid to cabin who receive longer salaries. Dozens of men in the employee behavior are to do industry the very best man to be in the first demand he stand by him captaincy his earn money for him and to make it an object for them to with his employees but to price not only to deal fairly principles with this merchant 128 it has been its prime capital of the new corner a year on trend of the intern again to pay him 130 per count attention trade and most winter personality who Platency, the man of the clothing business in Kenau, as a salesman in the he chose the best man he would have stock agents and any other businessman Winmaker did what almost at the very outset join store optionally for learning the greater thing the best help multiplier his worked capital boy creating John Store obtained belly for learning the getting the best help multiplier. His worked capital by the first turning he did was can you just what to do with it be and as for on hell he whatever the business might a hard build for business he took hold of he had school or anything else so that cold brom a Sunday he can how to do it and he Christian a foundation work brom the young man Winmaker had been able to capital city to do business that it was basis of his grit from of positively work he was foremost in every increment in the world and good with one of the largest business already a factor of citizens of the city which had on the most information Sunday school established in when I 110 visited his blatantly business but a few moments mind after he has been in impression made upon by city I can now never forget the already a great power in the was very great he was capital of popular out well 3500 weight when maker United Capital was only store in April 1861 trade opened on Hell Clothing Leo Nation Brown and partnership with his brother internally for farmer and he saved his money and a Oakland held advanced workplace saving year in this some space of time. Thank for watching. and please like, comment, share and subscribe. Thank you so much my video watching.